Welcome to my channel. It's Life with Miss Jewel. This series was Steps. Steps is not just a podcast, it is a journey through survival, identity, pain, healing, and transformation. This series explores the hidden layers behind behavior, trauma, sensuality, power, and the mask people wear to survive. Through raw storytelling, spiritual reflection, emotional truth, and uncomfortable conversations. Steps challenges listeners to look beneath labels and confront the deeper wounds shaping human behavior. Each episode represents another step toward awareness. The personas recreate, the bodies that remember, the systems that wound us, and the healing required to reclaim ourselves. This is not about judgment, this is about truth. And here's the breakdown. The Brown Shoes, Episode 1, The Personality That Survives. The brown shoes represent structure, protection, logic, and survival through control. This episode explores the identities people build to appear strong, composed, and untouchable while eternally battling fear, instability, and emotional suppression. Topics include survival, identities, emotional masking, control as protection, calculated behavior, survival versus authenticity. And one question is, who did you become to survive? Episode 2, The Red Shoes, The Body That Knows. The Red Shoes explore the body as memory, language, survival, response. This episode examines sensuality, hypersexuality, emotional betrayal, trauma, validation, and the ways people perform identity when their voice was silenced. Topics include trauma in the body, sensuality versus performance, survival driven behavior, validation and abandonment, hypersexuality as adaptation, the difference between empowerment and performance, core truth. The body told the story before the mouth ever could. What that mouth do? Episode 3, Labels, Diagnosis, and Survival. Named but not healed. This episode challenges the difference between being diagnosed and being understood. It explores how people are often labeled by symptoms while deeper emotional, spiritual, and environmental wounds remain untreated. Is this you? I dare you to explore clinical labels versus lived pain, emotional neglect, spiritual wounds, misunderstood behavior, coping mechanisms, and identity and healing. What if the behavior was never the real problem? Core question. What if the behavior was never the problem? The institutions that are race based, that break down the family unit and the way we think and moved. Episode 4, Power, Pimping, Survival. Who holds the power? The episode explores power dynamics beyond prostitution and into emotional, psychological, financial, and relational survival. It examines manipulation, dependency, validation, emotional labor, and how people trade pieces of themselves for security, attention, or survival. Topics included, such as emotional pimping, transactional relationships, control and manipulation, survival economics, body, energy, and attention as currency, ownership versus exploitation, who holds your power, core truth. Sometimes the transaction isn't physical, it's emotional. And then we get into episode 5, rehab versus rehabilitation. Stopping isn't healing. This episode explores the difference between temporary behavioral change and true transformation. It examines relapse, rebuilding identity, accountability, and what genuine healing actually requires the truth. Topics include relapse cycles, identity rebuilding, accountability, transformation versus performance, emotional rehabilitation, healing the root, not the symptom. Core truth, you cannot heal what you only learn to hide. The final episode, steps coming home to yourself. The final episode brings all the pieces together: the brown shoes, the red shoes, survival identities, labels, pain, performance, healing, and truth. This episode reflects on the journey of becoming aware of survival patterns, confronting hidden wounds, reclaiming identity, and choosing healing over performance. It asks listeners to examine who they became to survive, what they lost along the way, and who they are underneath every mask, and all that pain that has been held that wasn't yours to carry. Final message is healing begins the moment performance ends. Stop the act. What's next? At the conclusion of the Steps podcast series, Life with Miss Jewel, Jewel Colbert, transition into live readings and reflections from my poetry book, Words, Fears, and Tears, a deeply personal exploration of pain, survival, womanhood, healing, parenting, identity, truth, emotional memory, and spiritual transformation. These readings continue the conversation beyond the podcast, allowing listeners to experience the emotions, my stories, and my truth in poetic form. Some people survived and never asked who they became in the process. Steps is about telling the truth one step at a time. My poetry book, Words, Fears, and Tears, are about the words that held heavy on my heart through my grandmother's words of endearment, encouragement, or my mother's with learning and my tears along the way, a long way home. I invite you to explore all of these topics. You can find my book, Footsteps Through the Fire, A Tale of a Jewel, 21 Not Promised on Amazon, as well as Words, Fears, and Tears, A Long Way Home. Support the channel, support the Epitha Foundation, support you. first and foremost. We are a community, we're a soul tribe, and we're a village, which I learned from being in the Gambia, that it does take more than one person to bring a village up or a child up in the village. Building community, solidarity, hmm, and truth and light is my mission. Being a voice for those who don't have a voice, and an ear for those who have no one to listen to them. It's my journey that I'm sharing with you, being very transparent and clear that life does life. And then when life happens, we can life it together. Until next time.